Hey guys.
Hi, guys. I'm faking it
Wow.
till I make it right now.
Well, this is a good reminder that even your favorite therapist can struggle because we have been on the struggle bus since the time has changed and this year is just hitting us hard. So please bear with us, everybody.
I'm losing. Okay, I'm losing really hard this battle with the weather this year. I've busted out every coping tool and I'm still struggling. But we're going to keep busting them out and hope that it
Yeah.
gets better.
The plus side is this is why we stress social support because at least you and I have each other and we are struggling together.
Misery loves company.
Amen, sister. Okay, well, as always, thank you guys for tuning in and listening. This is a big episode for us because it is episode 50.
We made it.
We made it. This is a really big milestone for us, so it's very exciting. So it's the week before Thanksgiving. Holidays are coming up really, really quickly, and I feel like once you hit Thanksgiving, you hit the ground running and they just don't stop. So, with that in mind, we've got a little holiday focused episode for you guys today.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about the stress of holidays and what it brings up for people. So I'm just going to say, and then you can take it and run with whatever clicks with you, Gabby, of I think a lot of times I'm seeing people, the consistent things that are brought up are obligations because there's family traditions and you have to do certain things and there's high expectations of what you're supposed to do as a family.
Hmm.
There's feeling drained from how much you have to do and being overwhelmed with everything on your plate. And
Yeah.
then feeling, I would say there's also like grief if you have trauma or you have a rough family dynamic. The
Yeah.
holidays aren't fun for everybody, or even if they are enjoyable, like we always say, two things can exist at once.
Sure.
It can be like, I love the holidays, but I lost a parent around here, or the holidays have changed for me the last year, so I'm in an adjustment period. So I think a lot of people have a lot more grief through the years, depending on what happens and depending on your family history as well. But what
Yeah.
do you think what comes up for you around holiday stress and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I think what resonated with me is that the holidays seem to change every single year. And I mean, you can have traditions, you can have family that you see regularly, you can kind of be in your groove. But it seems like what is kind of stressful is as you grow up and as you move away, you're not doing holidays quite the same way. And I feel like when you have a partner or when you have kids or when you have like close friends that live by you, there's always expectation of like, let's do things together. Or, now you're blending families, you're blending ideas of what's appropriate for that stage of your life. So, I mean, that can be stressful. People who are like you said, they've lost a loved one or they're going through a relationship change or anything like that is just so huge. And it's like, I have to have fun and enjoy my holiday and make memories. And it's like a once a year thing, so you don't want to waste it. But sometimes it's like, is it even worth it? Is it worth it? All the effort?
Right. I think like a good way to gauge it is like, is it going to be more enjoyable than stressful? Because there's
Hmm.
going to be stress, right? Like especially if you think about like imagine you have kids and you're transporting kids and you're going to this house and you're whatever. But
Yeah,
is the stress worth the enjoyment, or is
right.
it like I just need this to get through this day and I just
Yeah,
need to get through this holiday because it's just what we do and it's the family dynamic's exhausting. I don't really feel connected and enjoy it. And I think a lot of times you have people like, I have to go to so and so's house because that's where all my family's going. So now I'm just going to sit there and
right.
watch the time pass. And there's this expectation of what I know in my family, at least, I think I had, like, obviously I had a big family growing up, but the thing that I recognize the older I get is, like, it was enjoyable in the sense is that it was, like, your stereotypic, like, you go to grandma's house and everything's big and all your cousins are there and it's, like, there are this expectation that you all have to go to grandma's house, right? And why that was fun, you could feel the stress of, like, I'm like, now that I'm older, I'm like, why did my grandma feel the need to be miserable and make 20
Yeah,
because it's Christmas and you have to because that's the expectation. Like you have to
right.
have all this stuff for all of these people and then all my aunts and uncles just like slaving away in the kitchen and like yelling at each other and like fighting because everyone's tired and exhausted so nobody's actually like connecting. It's kind of like you're just going through the motions because that's what you're supposed to do.
Right.
So I think as a kid you're like in that, but then you get older realizing like for what?
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny that you say that because I remember growing up. a similar experience. You know, we always had the home cooked meals and the desserts and everything. And I remember being like probably about 10 or 11, people order meals from like Costco or Cracker Barrel or whatever. And I was like so weirded out by that. Like, oh, that's so not traditional. Like, I just don't understand why would you not just cook for yourself? But now that I'm older, I'm like, hell yeah, I want to buy an apple pie. I'm not trying to make an apple pie from scratch. Like, that's my whole day. You know, cinnamon rolls in the morning, like that's so awesome, but like ain't nobody got time. So it's just interesting how your perspective shifts. And I think, you know, you're right that it becomes a stressor, like, oh, I have to do this. And in reality, like, does that matter? Do those things really, is that what it's about? So that pressure to perform and to have this perfect experience, and I think especially with like the rise of everything goes in social media, like everybody's posting everything, and it's like, well, I made this pie, so I had a better Thanksgiving than you. You know, and it's like, I literally don't care. Like Costco has a massive pie for $4.99. I would rather buy that and do a craft with my kids. That's what they're going to remember. You know, they're going to remember that type of experience and the coloring tablecloth. They're not going to care that I slaved over breakfast. I don't care.
One of my clients, I was saying one of my clients, like, God love her because, like, that's something she constantly works on, and she's, I would say in her late 50s, but she's, like, always exploring, like, why at family events am I, like, so drained? And then, you know, that's kind of the topic, exactly what we talk about. She's like, I have such a performance anxiety of like, if I'm hosting, I have to be the one cooking, and then I'm cleaning up after people, and then I'm like, oh, let me clean up the dishes now so I don't have to do it later. And then she goes, by the time my kids and stuff leave, I'm like, I didn't spend time with anybody.
Yeah.
So like, what was the point of me doing all this? Because if you forget the principle of like, why are we all getting together, you get lost into like, we're just doing all this stuff. And that's why I always say, for what?
Right.
For what?
Yeah. You know, and what resonates with me too, because I have a client that I was talking to about this where they used to do the holidays with the same family, and then there were a couple of losses in the family, and they ended up moving a little further away. So it's not accessible anymore to do the same things every year. And now the pressure is making new experiences and new traditions with her family as a unit, you know, that is separate and different from what she used to do. And there's so much guilt that comes with that of, well, I'm not continuing what we used to do for my whole life. This is the first year that I'm not doing A, B, and C. And something that should be exciting is now a little like it induces kind of this negativity. And I feel like that's so hard because you want it to be like really positive. You know, this is a new experience, it's a first time for everything, but you feel that breaking away from things that are familiar. So I think that that's kind of sad.
Absolutely. I feel like that's the acceptance of grief in your life that people don't like to feel. Like, I think nostalgic scenes are like always feel good because it reminds you of like that history and those connections, and like that was part of your life. So you see that younger version of yourself, and like how exciting it was to go to grandma's, and how exciting it was to hang out with my family, whatever. So it's like you're missing something that doesn't exist, right? Like, my grandparents aren't here, so that all those memories I talk about, I'm like, I literally am so sad that I literally can't ever go back to that scene. Not that it was ever perfect. So I'm like, I miss parts of that, but I think the reality is you're always having to reframe what it looks like, especially when people pass away. And then you, like you said, you have a new life. And, you know, I think I'm realizing, especially the last few years, and I definitely feel it a lot more this year. And I was talking about it this morning in my group. Like, I think I did good for a while with, like, I left my family, I moved away, and then I had that grief, and I knew I was like, oh my God, like, I miss my family on the holidays. But the reality is I'm 1,200 miles away. Okay. When then I started making friends, and then my friends would be like, come to our family stuff. So then I kind of got adopted into like feeling the same big family vibe. It's not my family, but I still have another big family thing. And then now I'm at that age where, well, now my friends are having their own families.
Yeah.
So then they're having their tradition start. And like, as much as they're like, hey, Alessia, you can come, it's kind of like, okay, they have their own worlds. And now I'm in like, now I have to find a new, like, now what does it look like for me? Because everybody else is like, okay, when now that you have a partner and you're married, you do stuff with their family. And then, okay, now what does it look like? I think there's always that, which it's like always a sadness. Like, dang, I found it, now I lost it.
Yeah.
And it's constantly changing, and you're always missing stuff from the other scenes.
Yeah.
And like, how do you accept that and then still take like little things you want and then say, well, what do I want it to start looking like now? That's so hard.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know what I think for me, and I'll just share this, I had the same experience of like moving away from home and then, being single and free to just do whatever I wanted for so many years, like living in Florida, living in Kentucky, even for a period of time. Like I went home. I drove home for Thanksgiving. I drove home for Christmas or flew home or whatever. And I kept that connection of still doing those holidays, but then the pandemic, and then I had kids, and then we moved back to Florida. And so I had different things kind of emerge. We made new experiences, but then now I'm in a position where my holidays are going to look very different. Like this year, I don't have my kids for Thanksgiving. So it kind of hit me, and I was in a little bit of like a valley of this, oh, I don't really know what I'm going to do. And fortunately, I have so many people that are like, just come to our house. Oh, but I kind of feel like this little orphan that's like just being adopted here and there. And it's a weird feeling because I'm like, dude, I'm 34 and I don't know what I'm doing for Thanksgiving. So that was like hard. That was a hard place for me to be. And I can understand why people are kind of like, well, I'm like, the holidays are stressful because they're hard enough to plan for as it is. But then you throw in family visiting, or, your plans fall through, or you're by yourself unexpectedly. Then what? Is it still special? Is it just like a day that just goes by? And that's kind of where I was. Like, do I just stay home and like order Chinese food and watch shows by myself on like a huge holiday that I love? Because I love Thanksgiving. Or do I like just go to somebody's house and like kind of crash their Thanksgiving? That feels weird. But one day is not enough for me to fly home and have Thanksgiving and fly back.
Absolutely. I think I've done, you said that, and I'm like, I've done all of those through my 12
Yeah.
years of being, I'm like, there's times where I was like younger and I remember I was at a club once and it was like Christmas and I was like, what am I doing? And it was
Right.
like this, like, my family's all up north together, happy, and I'm drinking at a club. And I remember having that thought because I was really sad about it, but I'm also like, all right, let's see, this was your option right now. Like, all your friends are out having fun. It was either go out with your friends, drink, or sit at home by yourself. And I was like sad and I didn't want to sit at home by myself. But I'm like, this isn't what I imagined my Christmas to look like. It's just like
Right.
out drinking in Miami. Like, this isn't what I want the rest of my life to be, but like maybe this year it looks like this. And I've definitely had ones where I've just sat on the couch, like, how do I just enjoy the day off? But also it starts feeling lonely because you're like, everyone else is with their family and as much as you're trying
Yeah.
to be like, okay, cool, day by myself, I'm gonna enjoy it. You're also like,
Yeah.
there's a sadness because you're like, damn, everyone else is like having a turkey bowl in their backyard and like with their
Yeah.
family, and you're like, oh, cool, I'm just like by myself, right? And I think it's like a hard thing to like grasp at how different it is and how
Mhm.
things change, and none of it's wrong, but I just think there's so many more emotions around it. I think there's like this stereotypic, like the holidays are so joyful and they're always supposed to be happy. And
Mhm.
I think with even our conversation now, it's like, yeah, like I'm still like excited. I love the holidays and stuff, but it always comes with grief and it always comes with
Yeah.
like an adjustment period of like, oh, this year's different from the years before. And it just
Sure.
kind of opens your eyes to all that.
Yeah. Well, I'm interested to hear your thoughts on this because I had a really kind of powerful session with a client regarding holidays recently. And, it was so interesting because I think how you reframe things really is so important. And there's a time, though, where trying to put this positive lens on stuff all the time can actually hinder your ability to make good judgment calls about things. And she was just saying that there was unexpectedly a relative of hers that previously she had a pretty rocky relationship with that was going to be attending Thanksgiving. And it was her reframe of it, and I respect it, was to try to be really positive, like, well, better than nothing, like at least we have a relationship, at least we have, one of those people that you don't even really think that they're like a real person because their life is that insane. It's like a ridiculous human where every little thing that they do is like, I'm getting punked. Like, this can't be real. But trying to find humor in that situation. And you could tell, though, that it was a heavy thing for her. So I was like, well, but is it worth it, though? Is it worth having this holiday that you love and you have this relative there that you're just kind of not setting boundaries with them because it's just how they are? And we had a whole discussion about, that tried and true, like, yeah, families on holidays, where it becomes this running joke with people like don't talk about X, Y, and Z at the Thanksgiving table. But in reality, like the reason that those things get brought up and the reason that people argue is because it's so many people in one place at the same time, and that never happens. Like it's so rare that you have this gathering of people, and this is the time to catch up and talk about big heavy things and talk about lighthearted things. So it became like a very deep conversation about like you need to set boundaries on people in your home, but at the same time, you can't use your holiday for that purpose. So what's the fine line there? And I kind of want to hear what like that brings up for you because it was so powerful to just be like two things can be true, but like not really if you want to have a good time.
I think it just, obviously, it depends on every situation. But again, I like, and I always am going to say this, you always have to say, like, is the negative emotions I'm going to have, are they worth feeling?
Yeah.
Like, do I know I'm going to show up and Uncle Tom is going to say something ignorant and I know that's how he is and I know I'm not going to expect that not to happen. But, like, can I manage putting up with that? Or, like, what do I have to do to be okay with
Yeah.
people's behavior because I know my purpose of being there?
Right.
Like, if my purpose of flying to see my family is, like, I think that's what people don't get clear on. Like, why are you going? Like, if I know my goal was to spend time with my mom and my dad,
Mm-hmm.
and I know Uncle so and so and Aunt so and so are coming to my house, and I know that they're fucking a lot,
Yeah.
and I know I'm gonna be annoyed, and I'm gonna hit my threshold of like blow my brains out.
Mm-hmm.
I have to know, okay, well, I'm here, and remind myself I came from my parents, but maybe I'm really annoyed right now, so I need to like what are my boundaries for myself? It's like maybe I
Yeah.
need to go to the room, maybe I need to take a break, or maybe I need to look at one of my cousins and like have this little connection, like there so and so goes again. But
Mm-hmm.
how do you make it? Unless it's something completely, I would say. I think there's a lot of people who need harder boundaries, and I think that depends on family dynamics. Do I think if Uncle
Yeah.
so and so is ignorant to your face and rude, do I think it is by all means necessary to set that boundary to be
Yeah.
like, don't talk to me like that, and if you need to leave, you need to leave? Yes, and I think that's the confusing part of weighing
Yeah.
out the reality of your family and what is where are you at, right? Because there's
Right.
sometimes I'm so depleted that I'm like, if I show up and one person says something, I don't have the capacity to not be ignorant, rude, and
Yeah.
like I'm not going to keep my cool. So maybe I need to either not show up or go for a limited time,
Mm-hmm.
or no, I have my partner next to me to look at them and be like, can we go? Because like
Yeah.
I've had enough.
Yeah.
Or maybe I'm like checking in, I'm at a good place and
Mm-hmm.
I think I have the capacity to handle so and so, and I just maybe
Yeah.
need to go to the bathroom and be like, I hate my family right now, but I remind myself why I'm here. So I
Yeah.
think it just depends on like what the actual issues inside the families are and how extreme they are,
Sure.
because I think every family has extremes.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think so too. But I think people feel discomfort with putting themselves first on in a holiday. They're like, well, I'm hosting, but we always have A, B, and C people there, but I don't really feel comfortable, or we had a falling out, and my parent will expect this person to be here, or it's just, rather than saying like, hey, I'm hosting, that person's not invited, and that's going to cause a stir, but I just don't want to deal with that. And then you're miserable because that person is there.
Yeah, well, I think with what you're saying, I love the way you verbalize it. I call that a voice of obligation because, well, they're family. And I'm like, well, fuck that voice because, like, just because we give people the excuse they're family so they can just do what they want.
Right?
And I like when you said, like, if you're the host, it's just like, I feel the same when we talk about weddings and experiences like that. It's like
Mhm.
people are so, like, it's my wedding, but I have to invite so and so because my parents really want them there. And it's like,
Yeah,
but whose day is it, right? I feel the same with holidays. Like, if I'm hosting and my mom's like, you have to invite Aunt so and so. No, I don't.
right.
Like, who made the rule? But I do think why that's there is it's the holidays. You start feeling guilty and you're like, I have to. And there's this like expectation of like, the worldly views that people have around holiday is like, you're supposed to be this big, happy family. But like, let's be realistic. Most families aren't big, happy families.
Right.
They're big, dramatic, multiple personalities, a lot.
Sure.
And then you're, like you said, you're meshing everybody together for one day. And there's going to be conflict and there's going to be
Yeah.
annoyances. So how do you accept that, but also know, like, I can control what I can control, and like that people pleasing or like I'm just gonna do it because my
Yeah.
family wants it to look a certain way is what
Right.
It gets people a little bit, now I'm miserable the whole day.
Yeah, I think that the interpersonal is the part of holidays that is the most stressful of anything because you have control over your menu, you have control over gift giving, you have control over when your party starts or ends. Like all of that is are things that you can very easily tweak. You can very easily decide to cater rather than cook. You can very easily decide that you're doing no family gifts besides the people in your immediate household. Like all of that is in your power. But once you start, well, let me start playing a little Tetris here with the people who jive and these people that are falling out, and I don't really want 25 people in my house. Oh, how am I going to fit 30 people in my house? Now these certain people can't come this day, so now I have to change my schedule. Like, it's hard. And that makes it really stressful. But then again, is it worth the stress? That's why I feel like more and more people are doing unconventional things for the holidays. They're going on a trip, they're doing birthdays. And I feel like this is very similar to like the child's birthday party shift in perspective that we're seeing. Like a lot of people are doing experiences. Why? Because if you can't invite your kid's whole class, then you can't let certain people find out that they weren't invited, for example. And it makes it really hard to just feel like, okay, well, we can't tell our kid that we're going to a party because not everyone was invited. And that's kind of the same vibe with holidays, I feel like, is happening. There's a big shift in what a traditional holiday looks like. Well, we're not inviting anybody, it's just our family. And that's okay, there's nothing wrong with it, but I wonder if that's avoidance rather than ownership of the times are changing and people don't live close to their parents. They don't live close to their grandparents. The roles have shifted so much where now we live in a culture where, friends are family. I mean, you and I do Easter together every year, whether it's at your house or my house or at your parents' house. Like we literally have done Easter all over the place together, but that's our thing. So I'm wondering if maybe there's this like cultural shift that's happening with like what a holiday looks like and maybe I don't know, like what's your thoughts on that?
I think it's like a shift where people are starting to see things differently and understand holidays and questioning like why are we doing it, so they're moving away from like more traditional stuff and trying to protect their peace. Because I think
Yeah.
you're right in the sense of I think only the individual person can look at this, but are we avoidant or is it what we like? And I think a lot of people are like,
Yeah.
let's just book the trip so we don't have to deal with our family.
Right.
How about we just stay at home, and when Aunt so and so's like, how come you didn't invite me over for the holiday? I say, because I didn't want to.
Yeah.
But see, that sentence right there, to me, that feels normal
Yeah.
because I've practiced it. Like, because
Right.
I didn't want to, because I want to stay at home with so and my friends, and this is what's important to me, and this is what I chose to do. That's
Yeah.
like going into conflict because Aunt so and so might not like that. But it's like
Right.
me being like, how do you trust in the decision you're making and knowing it's for yourself?
Hmm.
And when people are going to, like they are, have stuff to say about it, you're like at peace with that's fine because I'm choosing myself.
Right.
And I think that's the hard thing about family, because with family, that's what a lot of our wounding comes up with,
Hmm.
with the love and acceptance, and you want your family to be happy, and it is the holidays,
Yeah.
and so when you choose yourself and your own peace, you like that voice of obligation of and that guilt stuff, when people guilt tripping you, like why would you not want to spend your holiday with us? It all starts playing out. So
Yeah. What's really interesting and like this is bringing this up so strong for me. I feel like I have had that voice of obligation through much of my life. And that's something that I struggle with because I feel like when you're born into like a pretty strong nuclear family, you have that, right? You have a connection, you feel some sense of obligation, responsibility, ownership. And I remember in 2014, it was the first birthday that I ever spent away from my parents. And the reason for that was because I went on a cruise. And I was literally waiting until the last possible second to tell my parents that I was going to be on the cruise for my birthday because it made me so nervous to tell them, like, I'm breaking this tradition. I'm breaking this cycle of that we've spent every birthday together. And like I had a hard time with that.
but
And that
like
was
my
yeah.
question to you is like, what were you so nervous about?
Well, I think for me, I did something that felt so novel, and so it was just something like I wasn't comfortable breaking that expectation at the time.
Right.
You know, it was that expectation like, well, it's your birthday, you're going to come home. You know, it's your birthday, you're going to be with us. And I was like sad to kind of feel that maybe my parents would be disappointed not to spend my birthday with me. But, you know, then I did it and it kind of sucked. I mean, it was hard, you know, and I mean, I was in Grand Cayman for my birthday that year, like getting my hair braided by some lady on the beach, and it was awesome. But I was like, you know, I had that sadness too of like, well, normally I'm like in New York having ice cream cake for my birthday. And it felt so weird. And I felt so guilty about that because that was my choice. But then on the flip side, then there's my brother who, like, he's not sentimental about stuff like that either. He's going to be in Japan for Christmas. Like, Christmas? You're going to be across the world? Like, he just has that. And I wish that I had more of that tendency to be like, well, I want to do it. So, like, who cares if it's the middle of the summer or if it's Christmas Day? Like, I want to go, you know? And I think that that's just a difference that some people are able to do that. They're able to say, well, okay, there's a tradition, but like next year, you know, I'm not going
Yeah.
to be stopped.
I
And
think
that's
I think like
hard.
when you mention that, it's interesting because I think what you're talking about is you struggled with like regulating those emotions because I think it's normal to be like my parents are going to be disappointed if I'm not home. That's okay. Like
Yeah.
as they should. Like what
Right.
parent isn't going to be sad and disappointment if you're like our first year without our daughter home? Like I
Yeah.
would be sad about that. Like damn,
Sure.
like I want this. But it's like that reaction, you know, like you know they're upset, so then you're
Yeah.
upset and like how do you just make that feel normal? Like, it's
Right.
okay that we're all upset about it and I'm still going to do what I need to do. And,
Right.
like, for me, I know a lot of times and I would still cry every year, but, like, the first year is when we were in grad school and I couldn't go home. Like, the way out to me wasn't that I didn't want to go home. Like, couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
And, like, I would tell my mom, like, hundreds and hundreds of dollars on a flight to come home for 2 days because I have to be back into town because I have to show up at work or else I'm going to get fired.
Right.
Or those 2 days
Hmm.
worth my bank account going down and then me rushing back to be
Yeah.
distressed and anxious and overwhelmed and tired from the traveling. It never
Yeah.
was to me where I'm like, it's not that I didn't want to be there because I did. And that's like the sadness. Like in an ideal world, I could go, money's not an option, my energy's not an option, and I get right back. But like the reality of my life was like, no, I didn't go home for years because, and I would offer to work. I'd be like, just sign me up to work because I don't have a family and I'm basically an orphan. So
Right.
I'm just gonna
Yeah.
work. And like I would sit at work and cry. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I also chose this, but I also know why I had to do it right now. And like
Right.
the reality is I wasn't mad about my decision. It's something I was like, I would be so much more stressed
Yeah.
if I would have been more broke and then rushing back here to get to my shift. And like
Right.
I don't think you win in that situation. I think there's a whole bunch of sadness. There's a whole bunch of exhaustion. There's so like, and like that's just the accepting of it. And my parents would always be like, "We're so sad and disappointed you're not coming home,"
Right.
because who doesn't want their kid at home? And I wanted to be home. And I think the more I got used to not being home, it regulated for me.
Yeah. Sure.
Where sometimes I'm like, then I stop kind of wanting to go home because I'm like, oh, I'm actually enjoying my life with my friends. And like, then if I go home, then I feel like I'm missing out with my friends. So then it became this no matter where I am, I have sadness,
Yeah.
you
Right.
know? And it's just the reality of accepting that. But I totally get you. And I do think with what you said with like you and your brother, I don't think obviously neither of it's right or wrong, but I do think it's just different personalities and things hit different. Like you might be a person who, like you said, you're more sentimental and maybe you do like love being home more. Maybe your brother loves it, but it's not as important to him. So he's more okay to be like, sad I'm missing Christmas, but like Japan's worth it to me. I don't
Yeah.
care. Where you're like, oh my God, I would never want to be over there.
Yeah.
To each their own, as long as
Right.
you're doing it for yourself and not because of other people.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's like the moral of the story of this episode on holidays, which I'm sure will not be the first and last. But I think picking yourself and setting priorities and kind of developing a list of the things that are important and meaningful to you and making it count is the point of a holiday, right? It's about taking a break. It's about, sure, celebrating something, but putting your energy into things that you are grateful for and that have meaning for you, you know? I mean, listen, if Thanksgiving is meaningful to you to sit and watch the parade and have takeout all day and not lay a finger on a stove, that's cool, you know? if Christmas is about just being by yourself with your little family and not doing gifts and donating your time, like it looks different for everyone, but maybe that's what it's about. So I think we get like so mired down in I need to cook, I need to do A, B, C, X, Y, Z, and if I don't do that, I've failed at the holiday, And like it's just not cookie cutter. So it's hard to even advise somebody, but I think just remembering what's important and not regretting it, like, oh, this Christmas sucked. I have one Christmas in my life that I think was really disappointing and like taught me a lot of things, and it was like pretty recent, and I'll never forget it, but I think that was because I made a lot of decisions about priorities that weren't in my interest. It really didn't serve me. So now moving forward, I have that lesson of like less is more.
Right. And I think before we end, like you said, the moral of all this is there's no right or wrong way to have a holiday. It's like what sits right with me. What do I want it to look like? And as long as you're doing what you're doing for you,
Yeah.
follow that, and no matter what that looks like. Because like at the end of the day, I think everything we teach on here is all like, I'm always like, who wrote the rules? Like who wrote these rules that we're all following? These obligations? Like I have to. Like
Right.
there's not a rule book. It's literally like it's just emotions running all of us, and that's why we're doing stuff and it's not working in our favor.
Right. Amen.
I'm sure we'll have more holiday stuff, but if you have holiday stress and drama and want to drop it, let us know about your holidays and what they look like, because I'm sure you guys have some fun ones.
Yeah, please. We would love to read and share and just see what everyone's so stressed out about.
Tell me your most bizarre holiday story.
And also good holiday recipes too. We'd love to read those.
Yes. And I don't know if I'll have the energy to make it, but I like when I see them and I wishful thinking in my head if I don't make it.
Amen. Well,
Until
this
next
is
time.
episode 50, so we'll see you next time, guys. Bye.
Bye, guys.